Well, good evening and welcome everyone here with us in room at Ray White Bendigo and to everyone watching along on our live streams at home. To those at home, there's no queue for a seat tonight, no elbow from the stranger beside you, and after the week that we've had in Bendigo, no need to towel off at the door either. 3 days of rain and we've still had a turnout here tonight. It tells me two things: the Bendigo market doesn't scare easily, and neither do bargains. For those I haven't had the pleasure of meeting already, my name is Tim Annett and I will be your auctioneer for this evening. Every auction starts with our thank yous, and tonight it belongs to our vendor. Handing your home to someone to sell takes real trust, and it's never lost on us that behind this listing is a lifetime of ordinary Tuesdays, a good many Christmases, and so many family gatherings. So thank you for choosing Ray White Bendigo. Our selling agents, Matt Connolly and Liam Ryan, none of us would be standing here tonight without you. That campaign was sharp, and the bidders that we have tonight tell that story. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's one home, we're in one room, and we've got the whole night ahead of us. So let's set our expectations exactly where they belong: high. So ladies and gentlemen, before we conduct the auction tonight, there are some rules that we need to go through. The auction will be conducted in accordance with the rules and any additional conditions made available prior to the commencement of today's proceedings. The rules prevent an auctioneer from accepting bids or offers on the property after the property has been knocked down to the successful bidder. The rules prevent false bids, major disruptions from bidding, and bidders attempting to prevent others from bidding, and it provides significant fines for such conduct. The vendor, ladies and gentlemen, have a reserve price. As the auctioneer, I will indicate bidders upon request. The rules, ladies and gentlemen, do permit vendor bids. Only I, as the auctioneer, can place a vendor bid, and the words I will use to indicate I am making a bid on behalf of the vendor are quite simply vendor bid. So ladies and gentlemen, before we move on, are there any questions about the rules as we've read them, or the contract that has been displayed for the last half an hour and through that 4-week campaign? I always like no questions. That means that we're all confident. Love it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get on to tonight's property.
Just listed via auction, 149 Barnard Street in Bendigo. My name's Matt Connolly, Ray White Real Estate.
Tonight's property is described on certificate of title volume 9634 folio 788. It's a number I'll grant you with very little romance to it. So let's use the name that it wears on the street sign, which is 149 Barnard Street, Bendigo. The property is offered for sale on an unconditional contract calling for a deposit of 10% with a settlement due in 90 days unless there's been any prior arrangements made through Matt, Liam or the team at Ray White Bendigo. It's beautifully positioned, ladies and gentlemen, close to local amenities. This charming period home combines timeless character with outstanding versatility and so much future potential. And here's the headline, ladies and gentlemen: a generous 784 square metre allotment with the rare advantage of not one, not two, but 3 street frontages, to Barnard Street, Water Street and Yulee Street. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, spacious living areas give plenty of room for relaxing, entertaining or growing family needs. With the ducted heating and cooling keeping things comfortable all year round. Immaculately presented, the garden, front and back. This means more time for enjoying and less time doing all the work. The private backyard offers space to entertain, space for the kids, space for the pets, or space for whatever comes next. And then there's the standout, that substantial 4-car garage with its own rear access off Water Street. The kind of shedding that makes tradies, caravan and boat owners, all hobbyists, all sit up just a little bit straighter. Families, investors, business owners or developers, this one genuinely has an angle for everybody, ladies and gentlemen. Those 3 frontages, this much flexibility close to town, opportunities like this never come around. So where do we begin, ladies and gentlemen? Who'll start me off with that fair and reasonable opening bid for 149 Barnard Street in Bendigo? The traditional silence at the start of the bidding. That happens all the time, ladies and gentlemen. Happy to make a suggestion for you. The price guide's been quoted $695 to $760 throughout the campaign. Perhaps maybe a start somewhere near the bottom of that guide, $695, maybe even $700, and see where that takes you, ladies and gentlemen. Where do we go from here? Looking for that fair and reasonable opening bid. Anywhere you see fit, I'm happy to take your bid and we'll move on from there. We'll give you all a moment to think. We can't think for too long, ladies and gentlemen, because otherwise I'll take control and I'll start us off.
Yeah, I'm at 675.
675, there we go. That's a really good start. And look for a rise of 20 now at 675. Looking for 695, round me up to 700 even if you will. 675 over to my right, ladies and gentlemen. 675. First call at 675. Second call at 675. Third, final call at 675. If we don't hit our reserve, just remember, we'll be passing the property in over here to my right, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll be able to negotiate exclusively with yourself, sir, from there. We'll call it away one more time, ladies and gentlemen. Otherwise, we'll be able to pass the property in over here. First, second, third and final call. Are we all done and silent? Well, ladies and gentlemen, just give me one moment. I'm just going to seek some instructions from our vendor and see where we go from here. We'll be right back. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for your patience. We've just had a brief chat with our vendor and we've got some very clear instructions. They want to get this sold tonight, ladies and gentlemen. So we've got our bid over here at 675. What we'll do is we'll call it away 3 more times. If there's no further bid or offer on 675, we'll be passing the property into yourself, sir, and you'll be able to talk to Matt and Liam and see if you can still lock that contract away tonight. So ladies and gentlemen, 675,000 over to my right. What about yourself, madam? You've travelled all this way, 675. It's a bargain at that price. You know it, when you see it. So 675,000, ladies and gentlemen. We'll call it away one more time. First, second, third and final call. Are we all done? All silent in the room? Well, ladies and gentlemen, in the absence of any further bids or offers, we'll be passing the property into yourself tonight, sir. If you go and have a chat to Matt and Liam, they'll exclusively negotiate with yourself and have a look at that reserve price. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that brings our night to a close here. Just the one property tonight for our in-room auction here at Ray White Bendigo. We've got some more properties going under the hammer in 2 weeks' time, ladies and gentlemen, so we hope to see you all on the live stream. Maybe come to the in-room next time. It'll be a little bit drier, I promise, but we'll see you back out here in 2 weeks' time for our next in-room auction.